When the CEO's joke invitation became an incredible transformation, everyone was left shocked. Emma was used to being overshadowed in the fast-paced world of her tech startup, navigating the labyrinth of ambition and power like a ghost. At 28, she felt like a relic, her desk tucked away in a corner while the rest of her colleagues aimed their sights higher, each more ambitious than the last. Raised by a single mother who had weathered storms just to keep food on the table, Emma had internalized the values of hard work and loyalty. Yet, standing in the opulent office of Innovatech, she couldn't escape the suffocating weight of the glass ceiling above her. Then came the moment that would change everything or confirm her fears. It wasn't meant to be serious, a light-hearted comment tossed out during a brainstorming session by Mark, the charming yet distant CEO. "Hey Emma, you should come to the gala next week. It'll be a blast," he joked, dismissing her importance like a whiff of cologne. The laughter that erupted felt deafening, underscoring the invisible barriers between her world and theirs. She curled into herself, face flushed with embarrassment, deciding it was just a jest. But as she returned to her mundane tasks, unease brewed within her. What if it wasn't a joke? As the days passed, that flippant invitation consumed her thoughts. The gala was a hallmark of affluence and elitism, where wealth and power mingled, not people like her. But then a message popped up on her phone, an invitation link. "Can't wait to see you there, Emma." Her heart sank. She was pulled into an emotional tornado of excitement and crippling dread. What should she wear? Who would she even talk to? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of the gala arrived, and she slipped into a borrowed dress, a fragile layer covering her crippling anxiety. The venue thrummed with laughter and clinking glasses while Emma stood paralyzed at the entrance, peering in from the shadows. Voices buzzed like bees, and she felt like an imposter. Everyone else was glittering with confidence, surrounded by opportunity. She struggled beneath the weight of inferiority, a flickering thought reminding her that she didn't belong in this world. Muted yet desperate, she knew she had to push through. Just when she was about to retreat back into the night, a woman approached her. Claire, a veteran programmer whose reputation reached even farther than Emma had dared to dream. Claire's eyes held kindness peppered with an intensity that sparked something bottled deep within Emma. In that instant, Emma sensed a slight unraveling of her insecurities, ignited by the chance to connect. But when Mark strolled over and dismissed her programming skills in a casual comment, everything shifted. Emma's heart raced with indignation. Who was he to judge her, to reduce her to someone who couldn't even compute basic codes? The bubbling tension inside her reached a boiling point. With conviction she didn't know she possessed, she decided she would confront him. In that moment of maximum anguish, determination rose within her, a fierce blend of anger and fear. She was standing on the precipice of a revelation, a dividing line between her past and the life she yearned for. As the silence between them thickened, the electric pull of conflicting worlds resonated through the room. Emma and Mark faced each other, two souls at a crossroads. And just as the gravity of the moment felt unbearable, a truth lingered in the air, an unspoken connection waiting to be unveiled. Emma stood at the edge, torn between her destiny and the loyalties of her past, thrusting the story into uncertain territory, leaving the audience breathless with riveting anticipation. Emma felt her pulse quicken, heart thumping like a war drum. The air between her and Mark crackled with unspoken judgments and expectations. How dare he belittle her capabilities? The years of diligence seeped into her resolve, twisting within her like a newly forged steel blade. She took a breath, swallowed down the trepidation, and spoke. "Actually, Mark, I can code. I've been running projects that you've signed off on," she said, her voice slightly shaky yet undeniably clear. Shock registered on his face, a fleeting glimpse of disbelief that fueled her conviction. It was remarkable how one moment, one simple retort, had transformed the tides of her self-esteem. Mark stammered, trying to regain the upper hand. "Oh, right. I didn't mean to imply Emma, didn't he?" Wait for him to finish. She was no longer a peripheral figure lurking in the shadows of his charisma. "You had a choice to make a joke at my expense or to recognize that I am just as capable of coding as anyone else in this room." The words poured out like a long-held breath, each one hammering against a festering wound of past dismissals. Around them, the ambient sounds of the gala dimmed in Emma's ears. It was as if all that remained were the two of them trapped in this fragile confrontation. His gaze intensified, and for a brief moment, she saw not just the CEO, but a man faced with the unexpected, someone confronted with the reality of his own preconceptions. A silence enveloped them, but Emma pressed on. "It's easy to dismiss the quieter ones, but that doesn't mean we lack talent or ambition. I'm here to change that narrative." With every word, she felt her confidence layering, building on the past she had tried to escape, but this time, with purpose. Mark opened his mouth, likely to offer some rebuttal, but Emma could see the wheels turning in his mind. Perhaps he was beginning to understand the weight of his remarks. The gears were grinding, forcing him to rethink how he viewed her and perhaps others in their work environment, too. But Emma wasn't finished. The words felt liberating, and as she backed her statement with examples of her previous successes, she glimpsed an opportunity reaching far beyond this moment. What if she volunteered to lead the team on their next major project? The thought gripped her with both fear and excitement, a simultaneous tug-of-war within her. As the adrenaline surged, she realized this confrontation wasn't merely an impulsive rebuttal. It was the pathway to her evolution. The suffocating feeling of inadequacy lifted, just slightly, and in its place blossomed the seed of leadership. She ached for more challenges, more visibility, a place at the table where her ideas would no longer be dismissed as mere shadows flickering against the wall. Mark scrutinized her, layers of understanding emerging in his expression. "Let us discuss your projects next week. There might be potential for collaboration," he finally managed. Emerging from the haze of confrontation, Emma sensed that she had nudged the door open, just enough to peek into the possibilities that awaited her. This was a pivotal moment, and she intended to seize it. Her heart thudded in her chest, a rhythm shifting to one of possibility rather than dread. But as she stepped back, feeling lighter yet resolute, a flicker of doubt crept in, taunting her with thoughts of the status quo. What if she fell back into old patterns? What if the push for change was met with resistance? Would she be strong enough to stay? In the tapestry of her mind, questions multiplied. What if she led a project that infused creativity into their rigid processes? What steps would she need to take? With new appreciation for her capabilities, Emma ignited a fire of determination within her, setting goals beyond just surviving in a corporate sphere. As the gala continued, she caught Claire's gaze across the room, who smiled knowingly, almost as if recognizing that change was afoot. Perhaps Emma's path, long viewed as uncharted, had opened up, offering rich opportunities for growth and resilience. But just before she could relish the moment, a shadow crossed her thoughts. Mark's dismissive words could cling like burrs, and navigating through this terrain of newfound accountability would be its own battle. Emma directed her gaze towards him, her determination renewed, igniting the belief that the terrain was no longer unfamiliar. She belonged here. The night was still thundering with energy, but a new revelation whispered in her ear, daring her to consider. How could she cultivate the change she desired? And with that inquiry sinking into her heart, she felt the weight of her potential glimmering. Next week, the real challenge awaited her, a test of character and resilience in the boardroom, where the stakes were higher than ever. Emma spent the days leading up to her meeting with Mark alternating between excitement and anxiety. The halls of the office buzzed as usual, but to her, each sound resonated differently. The soft clicks of heels echoed with possibilities, and chatter around her felt charged with commitment. No longer just passive air, every interaction became an opportunity to sway the momentum in her favor. In preparation for the meeting, Emma meticulously organized her thoughts. She compiled data on her past projects, the methods she had implemented, and the successes she had achieved despite being underestimated. Reciting her facts transformed the anxiety into a powerful narrative she was about to wield. This time, she wasn't seeking validation. She was asserting her expertise. However, the closer the meeting approached, the more questions loomed in her mind, each sharper than the last. What if Mark dismissed her contributions once more? What if he locked her into an irrelevant role that circumscribed her ambitions? The terrifying thought drove her to strategize even harder. She crafted her speech, likening her ideas to solutions that could propel the company forward, leveraging data that bolstered creativity in technical processes. As she practiced in front of a mirror, Emma felt her earlier confidence wane. The reflection staring back was a mix of nerves and determination. "You're not just a cog in their machine," she reminded herself, focusing on the growing fire igniting within. With each repetition, she envisioned herself leading a team, infusing diverse voices into projects. This image painted assurance in small strokes, clearing the canvas of self-doubt. When the day finally dawned, Emma walked into the boardroom with a purposeful stride, each footfall an affirmation of her intent. The long table, adorned with its imposing array of faces, almost intimidated her. Yet, she took a steadying breath, recalling the words of those who believed in her potential, including Claire. As she took her seat across from Mark, she noticed the slight furrow of his brow. In that moment, she recognized a shift. He seemed caught between expectations and her newfound assertiveness. She delivered her presentation with clarity, employing the data she had so earnestly gathered. The words flowed effortlessly, buoyed by her preparation and emotional investment. Yet, halfway through, Mark interrupted her flow. "Emma, this is a significant amount of information. But let me ask you this: what makes you believe you can lead this project?" The question pierced through her carefully crafted narrative. Time felt suspended as she searched for the right words. A surge of adrenaline coursed through her, carrying an undercurrent of resolve. "Because I understand the intricacies of our technical framework, and I can communicate that to our team in a way that encourages collaboration. I want to lead this project not because I am biggest voice, but because I recognize the value in everyone's input." Mark's gaze narrowed, a mix of scrutiny and curiosity playing across his features. Emma could sense the gears grinding yet again in his mind. "If I can inspire creativity and challenge traditional thought processes within our team, we can unlock innovations that demonstrate our value as a company," she continued, each word echoing back the significance of her previous battles fought in silence. There was no holding back now. Finally, as her words hung in the air, simmering with implications, an unexpected silence descended upon the room. It felt both daunting and liberating. She had transformed from the once quiet employee into a passionate spokesperson for evolution. But just as she began to feel momentum pulling in her direction, a familiar, hostile voice erupted from the back of the room. "All this flowery talk won't change the numbers, Emma. We need cold, hard results." Roger, one of the more cynical executives, interjected. Every eye turned towards her, an unspoken challenge embedded in their expressions. Internal doubt twisted in her gut, a visceral reminder of her past struggles. She could feel Mark's demeanor shift at the interruption, and pressure mounted in the air. In that pivotal moment, she realized this wasn't merely about leading the project. It was a test of her resilience against lingering biases, challenges, and the remaining fragments of doubt still tethered to her. With determination pooling within her, she prepared to confront Roger's skepticism head-on, unwilling to allow a single voice to drown out her potential. What strategies could she employ to demonstrate her ideas possessed both creativity and practicality? Emma squared her shoulders, ready to reclaim her narrative. In that charged atmosphere, she realized the journey was inextricable from the path of transformation. As she gathered her thoughts, another question rose to the surface. How far would she have to go to not only prove her capabilities, but to redefine her role in this landscape? Emma felt the weight of Roger's words echoing through the air, a dense cloud of doubt pressing down on her shoulders. She could sense the scrutiny of her colleagues, their expressions a mix of skepticism and expectation. In this unexpected arena, the stakes were higher than she had ever anticipated, almost like her very capabilities were on trial. "What I'm offering goes beyond mere numbers," she asserted, channeling every ounce of resolve within her. "The strength of our projects lies not solely in the data we produce, but in how we galvanize a team around a shared vision." Her voice rose with confidence as she recalled the value of collaborative ideation, experiences, and the insights she had gained as a part of numerous projects. While Roger's right to emphasize results, she continued, eyes locking onto the executive. My approach aims at a longer-term outcome effects that enhance our product stability, user satisfaction, and employee engagement. Can we leverage creativity to drive those results? I believe we can. A silence hung in the space between her statements, but beneath it, Emma felt a spark of inspiration igniting. Mark leaned forward, intrigued but cautious. Can you outline how you plan to implement these creative shifts while ensuring tangible outcomes? Emma took a beat. This was her opportunity to shape the narrative and demonstrate her readiness for leadership, her vision now taking shape with clarity. I propose starting with a cross-functional team workshop focused on the integration of creative problem-solving techniques into project planning. This merger would not only tackle current challenges with fresh perspectives, but also yield measurable success metrics over time. As the words spilled forth, fueled by both passion and the lingering trepidation that had haunted her, she could see the shift within the room. Slowly, perceptions were beginning to adjust. Roger looked momentarily taken aback, a brief flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. Interesting concept, he conceded, though his tone remained guarded. But how do you intend to measure the success of such a workshop? Emma had anticipated this counter and was ready. We could establish KPIs before the workshop, a baseline of current project performance, employee satisfaction surveys pre- and post-implementation, and customer feedback. This data would provide concrete proof of how our internal transformation can correlate with external success. Each passing moment anchored her deeper into the scenario, her mind racing through potential outcomes, critically assessing the possibilities. The confrontation was no longer merely with Roger, but with her own perceived limits. Yes, such metrics can provide accountability, Mark noted, an appreciation threading through his tone. The idea has merit, Emma. But how can you ensure that team engagement remains high during this process? A surge of newfound determination rushed through her. This was her moment to shine. By fostering an environment where every member feels valued. Emma had witnessed team dynamics evaporate under top-down pressure and knew a collaborative culture unraveled potential. Utilizing team-building exercises, open sessions, and a rewards system to recognize contributions along the way would ensure engagement is not merely sustained, but enhanced. Her pulse quickened, and with each articulated strategy emerged a clearer picture of herself not just as an employee, but as a leader, someone who could foster change, inspire creativity, and garner results. Yet, as Roger appeared to gather himself, crossing his arms defiantly, a different challenge began to form on Emma's periphery. You're putting a lot of faith in an idealized version of teamwork, Emma. What happens when the numbers still don't budge? His question resonated deep within. A threat existed not merely in the question, but in the fear of failure. While she felt the pressure of expectation, a moment of clarity pierced through her uncertainty. With newfound poise, Emma replied, if those numbers don't budge, we will analyze why and adapt our strategy. Real change requires agility. If we can't pivot, we'll stagnate both creatively and commercially. Each word was a reinforcement of her resolve. As she spoke, Emma noticed a shift in Mark's demeanor. Curiosity edged out skepticism. She had no intention of backing down, and as she locked eyes with Roger again, the unyielding gaze morphed into one of begrudging respect. This exchange was a pivotal moment. She was no longer just an employee in a performance review. She was an advocate for her vision and herself. It dawned on Emma that the conflict had catalyzed an evolution that could spur both her career and the team's trajectory forward. As the meeting resumed awkwardly, Emma realized she had stepped firmly onto the path of transformation. Nothing felt more invigorating than the high stakes of pushing through barriers she once saw as insurmountable. But as she settled into a quick inner peace, doubt whispered at the edges of her mind. Was this newfound confidence sustainable? Just as the question hovered, she knew the journey had only begun, and her resolve would be tested further. What challenges awaited as her vision began to crystallize into reality? Emma felt the stakes rising again. Would this perceived shift lead to lasting change, or merely another cycle of resistance? Emma stepped out of the meeting room, her heart still racing from the adrenaline of the discussion. The walls echoed with a mixture of her triumph and lingering doubt, an unsettling reminder that success in her vision was not guaranteed. She needed to harness this momentum and channel it effectively over the coming weeks. As she made her way to her desk, she could feel the curious eyes of her colleagues on her, whispers trailing in her wake. This was not merely about the workshop concept anymore. It was a pivot in how they perceived her. With every interaction, every conversation, she sensed a new layer of expectation being layered upon her, a welcome challenge. Sitting down, Emma opened her laptop, determined to transform her ideas into actionable steps. Yet, uncertainty crept in as she began to map out the details of the workshop. Was she truly capable of leading such an initiative? Could she bring the team along without losing them to their busy schedules and everyday pressures? Her internal dialogue was interrupted by a notification from Mark. He wanted to set up a follow-up meeting to discuss the proposed strategies further. Great, she thought, a mixture of excitement and anxiety flooding her senses. It was one thing to present ideas. It was another to execute them effectively. Emma understood that she was on the precipice of a trial by fire. Her resolve and capability were about to be put to the ultimate test. As she prepared for the meeting, she focused on building a comprehensive plan. She understood the importance of not just creating a workshop, but establishing a ripple effect of change throughout the organization. She would need to ensure her team felt involved and motivated from the onset. To cultivate shared ownership, she decided to invite team members to contribute to the workshop agenda and design the session collaboratively. The day of the follow-up meeting arrived, and she arrived early, her mind buzzing with ideas. When Mark walked in, she could tell he carried the weight of expectations, too. This discussion was not just a validation of her earlier proposals, it was pivotal for her credibility. Their conversation flowed seamlessly as they deliberated on workshop goals and dynamics. Mark's enthusiasm helped her to regain confidence. It was clear he believed in the potential of her ideas. But even as she felt encouraged, shadows of doubt loomed. Amidst her growing determination, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that one misstep could lead Roger to dismiss her vision altogether. How could she ensure that skepticism didn't hold sway in deciding the workshop as fate? After their discussion, Emma took time to reflect. She realized that in order to foster creativity and collaboration effectively, she had to confront her fear of failure directly. It wasn't just about her ideas. It was her responsibility to create an atmosphere where failure was perceived as a learning opportunity, where risks could be taken without heavy repercussion. This realization marked a pivotal shift in her mindset. Weeks passed as she meticulously transformed her vision into reality. She crafted a compelling agenda with input from team members, researching creative exercises that aligned with their specific challenges and the company's objectives. Each interaction with her peers revealed hidden talents and ideas that rejuvenated her vision. Then came the final piece, securing Roger's blessing. This was the crux of her campaign. She eyed the looming approval like a gauntlet she had to run. With her newly crafted proposal in hand, she approached him, rehearsing her pitch in the recesses of her mind. Could she persuade him to see her workshop as not just a change of pace, but as a necessary evolution of their collaborative landscape? Emma inhaled deeply at the door to his office, ready to face the source of her anxiety head-on. As she stepped inside, a single thought raced through her mind. This meeting would redefine not just her career, but her very self-perception as a leader. With resolve, she opened her mouth to begin, only to be met with an unexpected question from Roger that would challenge everything she had prepared for. Why should I trust you with this initiative? The moment felt charged as she recognized the enormous challenge that lay ahead. Would she rise to the occasion, or would this be the moment where all her hard work unraveled? Emma's answer to that question would determine the course of her future. Emma steadied herself, absorbing Roger's question. It pierced through her carefully constructed defenses, forcing her to confront her deepest insecurities about leadership. Those words hung in the air like a challenge, a gauntlet she had to pick up and throw back with conviction. I understand your reservations, Emma began, her voice steadier than she felt. But I believe that this workshop is crucial not just for our team's development, but for the culture of innovation we need to embrace going forward. Each word seemed to unlock a small reservoir of resolve within her. I've consulted with team members, I've gathered input, and together we crafted a proposal that I believe will resonate. Roger leaned back, skepticism etched in his features. The lingering silence pressed against her, affirming her mounting fears. It would have been so easy to backtrack or to soften her stance, to become defensive. Instead, she decided to lean into her growing understanding of leadership, the imperative of vulnerability intertwined with conviction. What makes you think others will buy into your vision, Emma? He pressed, his eyes probing, as if he could see the uncertainty bubbling beneath her polished exterior. That question sent a rush of adrenaline coursing through her. I believe in collaborative ownership, she responded firmly, prompting herself to recall the fervor she had encountered in colleagues' feedback sessions. There's potential in each member of our team, and together, we can strengthen our weaknesses and embrace our strengths. This is not just my vision, it's ours. If I am given the chance to lead this initiative, I won't just expect people to follow. I will engage them, inspire them. Emma's heart raced at her boldness. She sensed a shift, however subtle, in Roger's demeanor. A lean closer, a flicker of interest. But self-doubt whispered insistently. What if the very passion she exhibited was misconstrued as overreach? Your proposals have potential, Roger finally said, his voice slightly softer. But you must understand that leading change requires not just enthusiasm, but a clear strategy to ensure buy-in at all levels. A flicker of resentment danced in her chest. I am prepared to implement that strategy, she retorted, no longer willing to allow his skepticism to define her capability. I will utilize our team's diverse skills by inviting them into the design process and actively engaging them throughout. This is about cultivating a culture of shared responsibility. Roger studied her carefully, contemplating. That's easy to say, difficult to execute. And just like that, the balance of power flickered back toward him. But this was her moment, the initiation of her leadership journey. It will take commitment, I know, she replied, not backing down. But I think we can turn what has often been stagnant into something dynamic. We can break down silos and reconnect people with their work. And if we fail, we will analyze, adjust, and try again. That is progress. A silence ruled the space, tension thickening the air. Emma's future hung in the balance. The weight of her worth pressed solidly against her chest. She had exposed her vision. If he dismissed it, if he dismissed her, would she be able to handle the fallout? Finally, she felt a shift. I can see you're passionate about this, Roger said slowly. That means something. I'm willing to support a pilot of your workshop. His words blasted open the door she'd been striving to unlock. Thank you. I will ensure this exceeds expectations, she promised, her voice cracking only slightly. As she left his office, elation surged through her veins, yet the reality of what lay ahead weighed heavily on her shoulders. She had been given a chance, but it was just the beginning. Would she truly empower her colleagues or retreat into the shadows when challenges arose? In the days that followed, Emma rallied her team. Every brainstorming session felt electric, and as ideas collided and formed, she reveled in the collaborative atmosphere. Yet, amidst the creative buzz, self-doubt slithered. Back in, perhaps, deep down, a lingering worry that she might fail to uphold her promise remained. On a particularly frenetic afternoon, when energy was waning and doubt crept in, Mark approached her with a new challenge. What are you going to do when someone inevitably questions your authority as a leader in this process? Because it's going to happen. Emma's heart skipped. The moment felt pivotal. She had envisioned herself as the architect of change, but could she withstand resistance? The notion of leading against skepticism ushered in an urgency she had not fully anticipated. Then I will confront it head-on, she declared, surprising even herself with her certainty. Every single moment leading up to this had forged a different version of Emma, one who would not back down from adversity. With resolve pulsing in her veins, she looked at Mark, realizing this was no longer simply about the workshop. It was her evolution into a leader marked by resilience. As they dove deeper into planning, Emma saw momentum build, yet the shadows of hesitation lurked at the edges. Could she maintain this newfound strength? How would she react when faced with overwhelming adversity? When the day finally arrived for the workshop, Emma felt the weight of every commitment she'd made and every expectation that hung over her. The moment of truth loomed ahead, ready to redefine everything she believed about her potential. Would she rise to the occasion, or would she falter and fracture her self-appointed role as a leader? The answer was on the horizon. The morning sun seeped through the office windows, draping everything in warm light. Yet Emma felt a chill creeping under her skin. Today was the day she would face her team, not merely as a colleague, but as their leader. The workshop was set to kick off in less than an hour, and the butterflies in her stomach danced in erratic waltz, each flutter a reminder of her vulnerability. She nervously paced in her office, reflecting on her journey. In only a few short weeks, the once timid woman who had hesitated to voice her opinions was about to implement a bold initiative she had crafted with care and passion. Still, what if the vulnerability she had embraced would lead to collective disappointment? What if the creative energy she had nurtured slipped away like sand between her fingers when faced with real challenges? Taking a deep breath, Emma steadied herself and resolved to confront these swirling fears. She could no longer allow doubt to dictate her abilities. She chose to channel her apprehension into clarity of purpose. Every jot of feedback she had received from her colleagues mattered. They were inherently investing in this collaboration, and that would not go unnoticed. As she stepped into the meeting room, the energy shifted. A mix of curiosity and skepticism washed over her team. Their faces were a tapestry of expressions: anticipation, wariness, and even the occasional smile. It was now or never. She had to project confidence, delivering not only a plan, but also her belief in collective potential. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice steady and assured. "This workshop isn't just a presentation. It's an opportunity for us to redefine our approach to working together." She introduced the workshop's agenda, outlining her vision of collaboration and shared responsibility. She could see heads nodding, a glimmer of enthusiasm starting to glisten in their eyes. But she also caught sight of Mark, arms crossed, eyebrows furrowed, a silent challenge hovering around him. Did he doubt her? She had to push through that outlier, confront the very tension that threatened to unravel her resolve. Throughout today, Emma continued, "I encourage open dialogue. If something challenges your perspective, say so. I respect you and your opinions, and together we can create something transformative." After the initial introductions, they split into small groups to brainstorm solutions to specific challenges faced in their daily workflow. As ideas sparked and connections formed, Emma's heart swelled with pride. Each suggestion laid down was a testament to the diverse strengths present in her team. But then, as feedback about her authority simmered in the back of her mind, something unexpected happened. In one corner of the room, she overheard muttering, a voice she recognized, slightly mocking. "Well, let us see how long this lasts. Who actually believes she can pull this off?" A wave of anger washed over her, but with it came clarity. Mark's skepticism had ignited a flicker of determination within. She straightened her shoulders, grounding herself. Every part of being a leader is about resilience, she reminded herself. Fostering her team's engagement was critical, but facing dissenting voices would be equally necessary. After the first round of brainstorming, Emma called for everyone's attention. "I noticed some challenges in the dynamics during our discussions. It's important to address every voice, even if the sentiment is less than enthusiastic." Mark met her gaze, caught unaware by her candor. He had expected her to be thrown by criticism, to falter under his scrutiny. Instead, the fire igniting in her seemed to illuminate the entire room. "I want us to be a team that holds each other accountable," she declared, her resolve painting the air with fierce authenticity. With her heart pounding, she opened the floor for any comments. A silence sang through the room, a moment of sheer hesitation followed by a cascade of unexpected refrains. Suggestions flew forth, and even the naysayers began to share grievances they had long held in reserve. The collective tension morphed into a constructive energy, each individual feeding off the others. As the workshop unfolded with more engagement than she had anticipated, Emma felt a shift not just within the group, but within herself. The uncomfortable conversations she had dreaded were unshackled by open expression. There lay a remarkable power in vulnerability and authenticity, allowing room for dissent while fostering collaboration. Yet, with each pat on the back and every moment of validation from her colleagues, doubt still lurked in the corners of her mind. Could this dynamic endure beyond the workshop? What would happen when feelings ran high again, and her leadership was once more called into question? As the closing discussions began, Emma recognized the pivotal transformation that had taken place today, not just in her team, but within her. She had risen to meet the challenge against odds and in uncertainty. But the understanding that leadership required constant vigilance lingered as she faced the end. The invitation for more discussion hung in the air like a dare. As the session wrapped, a thought surfaced, unyielding. Just how much was she willing to challenge not only herself, but those who doubted her every move? She flipped through her notes, heart racing, determination hardening within. This was the beginning, but the journey had merely begun. What reality awaited her in the future, especially when tested once again? Emma felt fizzing excitement coursing through her as the workshop concluded. The palpable energy reverberated off the walls, lingering like the aftertaste of fresh fruit. Yet curiosity crept in as she recollected Mark's words. Uncertainty nudged her, wondering if today's spirit would hold in subsequent encounters. In the days that followed, Emma approached her role with heightened awareness. Each interaction with her team felt purposeful. She observed their dynamics more closely, feeding on their shifting energies. But lurking throughout the week was a prickling concern. How would she respond when headwinds returned? The reality of her new responsibility crystallized when her boss, the CEO, surprised her by asking her to present a recap of the workshop in an upcoming company-wide meeting. "You've shook things up in your team," he beamed. "Now let us share that good energy with everyone." His eyes sparkled with approval, but the unintentional jest in his tone hit differently. Did he view her workshop as just another project? Would he fail to recognize the depth of potential that had ignited within her group? Emma nodded, feigning confidence, but as she left the meeting room, her thoughts spiraled. The notion of showcasing her team's newfound energy in front of the entire company felt daunting. Would she project the same confidence to a larger audience? Her gut twisted at the thought of reverting to that timid version of herself. Her kitchen table became a canvas of ideas, torn pages filled with sketches of potential takeaways to present. She pondered how to champion her team's progress while ensuring she remained front and center. But how? She whispered to herself. The budding leader she had become yearned for authenticity, but energy and resilience might wane under scrutiny. Days melted into nights of preparation. She pored over slides, debating which anecdotes to feature. Mark's skepticism was insignificant compared to the voices of collaboration now echoing in her head. A growing realization struck: this was not just about her. Shine a light on them, she thought decisively, inviting vulnerability to seep into her presentation. The morning of the company meeting arrived, and anxiety fluttered anew. As she approached the conference room, the size of the group hit her like a wave. 50 faces turned toward her, expectation hanging thick in the air. She prepared to meet scrutiny, but the stakes had never seemed higher. Today, I'm excited to share how my team dramatically transformed in response to shared vulnerabilities, she started, her voice steadier than she felt. The room was silent, eyes piercing through her preparation. It wasn't an easy journey. We faced skepticism that tested our resolve, but those tensions became catalysts for change. As she spoke, she noticed Mark seated in the corner, his posture devoid of the usual bravado. His arms were uncrossed, and a focused gaze met hers, as if shoring up energy for what was to come. Emma could almost hear the skeptical thoughts dissipate in the room. She unfolded the story of her workshop, highlighting key moments of breakthrough, moments when colleagues leaned into discomfort, moments of laughter and honest feedback. As energy rippled through the audience, she felt a shift. A connection was forming, where each anecdote evoked nods of recognition, even spontaneous applause that pulsed through the room. What she hadn't expected was the surprise questions at the end, enthusiasm bubbling forth as people engaged with her initiative. In that instant, it clicked. Leadership wasn't merely about her journey. It was about creating space for collective voices, cultivating threads of resilience. But just as the exhilaration enveloped her, a sinking thought emerged. Those moments where she withdrew her own voice, were they still hidden within her? What lay beneath the surface of this recognition? A growing anxiety surged as the questions danced in her mind. The realization struck her with clarity. While she had risen to meet challenges in public, she still had undiscovered realms within. As the applause echoed in her ears and smiles formed around her, Emma wrestled with what her next step would be. Would she confront those hidden insecurities, or would they loom over her? As she stepped off stage, the thrill of success coursed through her veins, but with it came an insistent whisper. This was not an end, but a beginning, a call to dig deeper. What would she uncover when she initiated her own internal transformation? The aftermath of the presentation set off a cascade of emotions within Emma. The elation from her success felt almost overwhelming, yet beneath it lay a pulsating undertow of doubt. With applause still ringing faintly in her ears, she stepped into the hallway, her thoughts racing. It was exhilarating, yes, but that excitement felt precarious, as if built on shifting sand. In the days that followed, Emma sensed a subtle shift in how her colleagues perceived her. They approached her with questions, seeking advice, a step forward from the diffidence that once characterized their interactions. This attention rattled her. Instead of basking in the newfound respect, her previous insecurities clawed back, whispering doubts. Was she truly equipped to lead? What if she was simply riding the wave of a temporary victory? Perplexed by this internal conflict, Emma sought solitude in her favorite coffee shop, a small place with mismatched furniture and local art adorning the walls. Sipping on a latte, she watched the world outside as colorful autumn leaves danced with the wind. It was here that she confronted herself. She unfolded her notes. What lies beneath? Asked her inner voice. The question echoed, reverberating through her thoughts. Every breakthrough needed a foundation that rested on true self-awareness. Determined to confront her vulnerabilities head-on, Emma planned to dive deeper, seeking an authentic connection with those same insecurities. She envisioned a series of conversations, one-on-ones with each team member, prompts designed not only to gather feedback on her leadership style, but also to explore their own apprehensions and aspirations. The first session took her by surprise. Angela, a once quiet member, brought forward her own inhibitions. "I wish I could speak like you did in the meeting," she confessed, the vulnerability evident in her voice. Emma felt a surge of empathy. It soon became evident that Angela's fears mirrored her own. They sat amidst the clutter of the coffee shop, their dialogue forging a connection, a bond rooted in shared uncertainty. As the days turned into weeks, Emma repeated this cycle, and with each conversation, her fear transformed into a source of power. She realized the strength that came from embracing collective vulnerability. It was a thread weaving them together, igniting their collaboration. Conversations evolved into brainstorming sessions where ideas flowed freely, creating a vibrant ripple effect through her team. Each voice, previously muted, began to resonate louder, confidence sparking where doubt once lingered. But as Emma savored the progress, a troubling thought nagged at her consciousness. What if her efforts inadvertently revealed more of her hidden insecurities to the team? Would they see her as capable, or would her vulnerabilities undermine their trust? This shadow of self-doubt haunted her even as she strived for authenticity. One afternoon, as she prepared for another team session, she stumbled across an old photograph of herself, stiff, hesitant, an image that felt foreign against the empowered woman she'd become. Will I ever truly shed that self? She pondered, a familiar pang of uncertainty tightening around her heart. Could she reconcile the timid version of herself with the emerging leader she craved to be? Set against the backdrop of her recent revelations, the upcoming quarterly meeting loomed ahead. Emma felt the weight of anticipation crush her excitement. Would the energy simmering within her team hold up against the critical gaze of higher management? Would she, once again, falter under pressure? It was this uncertainty that propelled her forward. Before the team assembled for their final review in preparation for the meeting, she steeled herself, whispering a silent affirmation. Embrace the challenge. Dig deeper into the unknown. The moment of truth loomed closer. Would she courageously extend this internal transformation into the public arena? Emma could feel the tension building, like a storm preparing to break. What awaited her just beyond the threshold of that meeting room? Would she unveil a leader confident in her journey? Or would her deepest fears once again bubble to the surface? Emma entered the conference room that day with a fusion of anticipation and steely resolve. The echo of her colleagues' laughter from the morning seemed worlds away. This was a different landscape altogether. The quarterly meeting would be the proving ground for all she had worked toward. Every transformative discussion, every vulnerable revelation, and every seed of collaboration had led to this moment. As she took her place at the head of the table, the energy shifted palpably. Faces looked expectantly towards her, a mixture of hope and skepticism flickering in their expressions. Maybe a month ago, she would have felt that skepticism wrapped around her like a blanket. But today she was different. She had learned to embrace her vulnerabilities and wield them as strengths. "Thank you all for being here today," Emma began, her voice unwavering. "I want to share not just the outcomes of our recent workshop, but the journey that led us there." Her heart raced as she scanned the room, a mixture of colleagues and executives, including Mark and Roger. She remembered them as both adversaries and catalysts in her transformation. In their eyes, she could see a hint of curiosity, maybe even respect waiting to be validated. As she recounted the stories shared in her series of one-on-ones, the room quieted, taken by the gravity of the vulnerabilities revealed. Each story became a bridge, connecting her experience to the collective yearning for a meaningful work environment. "Several of us have faced fears about our capabilities," she continued, locking eyes with Angela, who nodded in silent solidarity. "But together, we've birthed a culture of openness, where we challenge each other not just as colleagues, but as partners in creativity." Emma felt her confidence building as she presented the strategies her team had devised through their collaborative processes. Metrics and goals flickered on the overhead screen, showcasing the solid foundation concrete data now provided. Each bullet point was a testament, not just to her ideas, but to the collective brainpower they had harnessed as a team. She carefully turned each point into a storytelling opportunity, weaving in anecdotes that highlighted their growth and the raw, unfiltered moments of doubt that had morphed into resolve. When she arrived at the projected outcomes, the room buzzed with energy, eyes sparkling with hope. "We're not just aiming for numbers. We're aiming for a cultural shift," she insisted. "I want us all to be active participants in this journey, breaking down silos and embarking on a collective exploration of creative potential." Suddenly, a familiar voice chimed from the back. Roger leaned slightly forward, intrigued yet skeptical. "Isn't this a bit idealistic, Emma? Are we prepared for potential failures?" A rush of adrenaline surged through her. His challenge wasn't a setback. It was an opportunity. Her mind whirred, remembering every doubt she'd faced on her journey. They were threads of the same tapestry she had woven together. "Yes, Roger, it is idealistic," she responded boldly, surprising even herself. "But what we've learned is that risks are necessary catalysts for growth. Just as I learned to confront my own shortcomings, we must also confront the fear of failure openly. Each setback is a stepping stone to something greater." For a brief moment, she sensed a ripple of agreement amongst her colleagues. As she concluded her presentation, she realized that the moment had crystallized into a turning point. This was her metamorphosis. The previous Emma, hesitant and overshadowed, had given way to a leader unafraid of her vulnerabilities, who could stand firm in her convictions. "Let me be crystal clear. This isn't just about achieving a set of milestones. This is about redefining how we work together. I'd like us to establish regular touchpoints where we can support each other, voice our challenges, and celebrate every success." With that, the applause filled the room, an overwhelming wave of acknowledgement as accomplished as she felt in that moment. Emma knew the true victory lay in the partnerships she had forged. Mark approached her afterward, a genuine smile on his face. "I didn't expect this level of engagement. You brought everyone together." "Thank you, but I didn't do it alone," she replied. "This was collaborative. This is what happens when we acknowledge vulnerabilities and lean on each other for strength." As Emma exited the conference room, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment pulse through her. The doubts that once haunted her were now mere echoes of a past that had shaped her transformation. She had proved to herself that she belonged not just to the narrative of success, but as a facilitator of change. Looking back, she realized the shadows had sharpened her resolve, guiding her towards deeper connections and a newfound authority. As she walked down the hallway, it dawned on her this was not the end of her journey. It was a reaffirmation of her newfound identity. There remained much to explore and fulfill, but Emma stood steady, a leader forged by challenges and empowered by growth. She embraced the daunting reality of continued transformation, knowing that every challenge ahead would hold the potential to broaden not just her capacity, but that of her entire team. And with that understanding, she felt an exhilarating sense of anticipation for whatever lay ahead. Now more than ever, the commitment to rise through any roadblocks invigorated her spirit. Emma Delgado was no longer a shadow lurking in the corners. She was a presence that commanded the room, determined to take her place at the forefront of the innovation she had longed to lead. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.